Wild Hearts is a 3-player cooperative Monster Hunter style game, developed by Omega Force, a division of Koei Tecmo. They are mostly known for their work on the Dynasty Warriors series, which growing up have been some of my favorite games. That series has since been on the downfall, and the team looked to get into another genre, which over the decade have been dominated by Capcom. With EA also being the publisher, my excitement quickly went out the window. After playing roughly 20 hours of the game, I wanted to give some impressions on whether this one can compete with the likes of the Monster Hunter series. Let's address the big kimono in the room. See what I did there?
That wasn't funny. Please never speak to me again.
No, for real. Let's look at the Steam reviews on the first day it launched. They are mostly negative, that being due to the horrible optimization of the title. This reception was valid, as the game asked for a $70 price up front, and when us gamers buy something, we want it to work, preferably in a playable state. Wild Hearts did not launch in a playable state. I had to wait 5 to 6 days to play the game until the update went out to fix this. Even after the update, the optimization seems to be the game's biggest downside. On my partner's side, it was really awful. From textures bugging out on creatures, to just bad frames overall. It really hindered his experience. Taking a look at Steam reviews now, it sits at mixed, as performance has improved, but its poor optimization has turned many away from the game already. I even had another friend who texted me saying the game was locked at 30 frames per second on Xbox Series X. In 2023, with next-gen hardware, games are being locked at 30 frames per second, which is unacceptable. Gotham Knights had the same thing. If customers who buy your product aren't able to play your game in 60 frames per second, you should probably hold off on releasing the game or pushing it back until it can achieve higher frame rates. The user experience in this game is lacking. The icons on the map are not accompanied by any text to explain what they represent, making it confusing and frustrating for players to figure out where they are and what they need to do. This is especially problematic when starting out in the town, as I didn't know where the blacksmith or training areas were. The tutorials that pop up on the side are poorly optimized, displaying at, I would guess, a 15 frames per second, which can make it difficult for players to understand what they need to do. Additionally, the journal for quests is tucked away, making it hard to access, and the overall user interface feels a little bit disorganized. Overall, the game would greatly benefit from improvements to its user experience, including clearer icons on the map, more optimized tutorials, and a streamlined user interface. Moving on to the graphics, the game looks average at best, even with everything set to the highest settings. It's confusing that with such poor frame rates, the game doesn't at least look amazing, but it doesn't. While later areas in the game like the Fuyufasagi Fort have amazing backdrops, the town area, and then also the starting area from the first chapter, look average. It's disappointing because the armor sets and monsters are super detailed and look amazing design-wise, but the graphics don't do them justice. The game story was virtually non-existent, and while I understand that it's not the main focus of this type of game, it's clear that the little effort was put into it by Omega Force. Cutscenes are locked at 30 frames per second, and the English voice acting is so poor that I found myself switching to the Japanese and just used subtitles. The characters are uninteresting and feel like cookie-cutter archetypes, failing to draw me into a narrative. While the world is rich with lore and backstory, the game does not provide much in the way of a traditional narrative. On a positive note, the character customization at the beginning of the game is well done, with a plethora of options for hairstyles, highlights, eye colors, and more. But Chronicles, I don't care about the graphics, I don't care about the story, and after the update, the game runs a lot better now. How is the gameplay? It's the main reason we play these type of games. Well, you're right. The gameplay is the game's main selling point, and thankfully they got this right. The combat here is a lot of fun. What sets it apart from Monster Hunter is the ability to summon Karakuri during fights to assist with movement, attacking power, flying, and igniting weapons with fire. Combining these can create fusion Karakuri that offer even more depth, such as huge walls to unblock incoming charging enemies, healing mists when you're running low on healing water, big hammers to knock down enemies, and fireworks, which take care of those flying pests. These were just some of the fusions I encountered during my time, but the game offers many more. It's worth noting that these Karakuri aren't unlimited, and players must monitor their threat count. I can't tell you how many times I was retreating the hill and couldn't put down a spring to dodge an enemy rushing me because I had 0 threads. Keeping track of thread count can be tricky, but these can be collected by mining rocks and trees or hitting the monster. Overcharging threads is possible by exposing the thread hotspot on a creature after doing enough damage, allowing players to grab and absorb it. This gameplay loop makes Wild Hearts feel special, despite some jankiness in the summoning mechanics, which often led to me placing them next to, behind, or in front of the intended location. The weapons here all feel unique. The blade feels swift and quick, while the maul offers more damage with an AoE swing attack and heavy hitting spikes that you can continuously chain together if timed correctly. The bow is one of my favorites, as you need to constantly switch between two ammo types, one that allows arrows to stick inside the enemy, and then switching to the other will ignite these arrows, causing big damage. Even the more skillful weapons, like the bladed wagasa, which relies on the player to be frame perfect to parry attacks, which then increases his damage. This weapon made me scream so much, but it was so rewarding getting it to work. All of the weapons here accommodate to your specific playstyle, and I switched around often. It goes even deeper than that though, as you'll constantly be upgrading your weapon and armor sets. For the weapons, I wasn't expecting this amount of depth, as bringing the blacksmith certain parts of Kemono's body after defeating them allows you to increase damage and add skills such as increasing critical hit percentage for the maul, or speeding up how fast you can charge for the powerful bow shots. The upgrading tree is huge, and it even changes the way weapons look depending on what upgrades you decide to make. Armor also has a bit of depth, as depending on the armor you have on dictates which path you're destined for. Those two being the human path or the Kemono path. The more powerful perks are going to be locked unless you fully commit to a certain path, or you can stay in the center and reap the benefits of both paths, but less powerful perks. This makes armor sets crucial, and you'll want to carefully make sure you have the perks you want depending on the type of Kemono you face. Which leads me to my next point. The Kemono here are amazing. They are huge, obviously, all with different designs and details inspired by different animals. Finding them and then getting to them is a breeze, as the game offers what they call dragon karakuri. These range from flying vines, rollers, or wind vortex, used for traversal, and then you'll use the hunting towers for locating the Kemono. There are also many more which provide resistance bonuses, or even a drying rack for food. Looking at the Wild Hearts page, there are even more offered that I didn't even get a chance to experience. On to the combat. Every single fight felt different. Some are more aggressive, others stalk their prey and wait for the right moment to pounce and annihilate. Some fly and swoop in for a quick attack. Most of the fights I had were fun and also challenging. You would need to use the correct karakuri combinations to gain the upper hand. For instance, the flying creatures will have to be taken down using fireworks, while traps take care of the more quick and agile creatures. Every Kemono offers a different approach to taking them down, which makes the Monster Hunter part more satisfying. However, one boss fight, the Earthbreaker, was lackluster and not challenging enough. Additionally, during this fight, my partner experienced poor optimization, resulting in bugged textures for the Kemono, which prevented them from doing any damage. Despite that issue, Wild Hearts provides a satisfying combat experience. In totality, my experience with the game has been mixed. On one hand, the actual monster hunting is incredibly enjoyable, and the game offers a lot of depth and replayability with different builds and perks. The Karakuri feature also adds a new layer of interest to fights. However, the optimization issues are a recurring problem that detracts from the experience. Unfortunately, the game's high price point of $70 is not justified by the current state of the game. In comparison, Monster Hunter Rise, which just arrived on Xbox Game Pass, offers a more polished and optimized experience. Thus, if you're looking for a game in this genre, it's best to invest your time and money into a Monster Hunter game for now. If you've exhausted all the content in Monster Hunter games and still want to give this one a try, I recommend waiting for a sale and for the developers to address the optimization issues. That's all I have for this one, guys. Don't forget to comment down below how you feel about the game, what they need to add, or if you feel like it rivals Monster Hunter or not. Thanks for watching, and peace.